friends, to our first live edition of FOOVentures at Oatland Island. Thank you for joining us. I'm Miss Seashell.
And I'm Mr. E.
And we are going to share with you today a little bit of information, and hopefully you'll join in with us and ask questions. Eric, where are we?
Yeah, so we're shut right now due to coronavirus, COVID-19, and no one can come on property besides essential staff. So we're here taking care of the animals, doing our daily work, but the crowds can't come like they normally would during our awesome spring break right now. So we thought we'd brought you some live videos of what's going on with our animals and all different exhibits throughout the property.
And we are here keeping our 6 feet safe distance, so you don't have to worry about us, friends.
So we're going to talk about our wolves today. You might be able to see them behind us. We just gave them some treats and hopefully brought them to the enclosure closer so you can get a great view of what's going on behind us. Talk a little bit about what that process is like to get them to come closer as they approach us, because we're the people that bring them food usually. So they really like us, but if you're coming to visit us after we open back up, might give you some ideas on how to bring them a little bit closer to you all while respecting that safe distance that they always deserve.
All right, so we're going to introduce you to the pack, and it'll be a little difficult, so we'll take opportunities as they come up to see who's who. But our pack consists of 4 wolves. The first wolf that you see is the white, light gray wolf is Suwannee. And rolling down in the grass right now is, oh yeah, that is our female, Satilla. And standing next to the white wolf is Ogeechee. And walking in from the side is Oconee. They're all named after the rivers of Georgia, and that name was given by a FOO visitor, or maybe, hopefully it was a FOO member, like you.
Yeah, so we're really excited to see your questions, so make sure you drop some questions in the comments. We'll try to answer those to the best of our ability. If anything pops in your head, just type that comment and we'll get those questions answered.
All right, I think some questions are coming in, but Mr. E, why don't you tell us how'd they get here?
Yeah, so our Oatland wolves came from a center in Indiana that is a sanctuary and center for education, just like Oatland. They had a group of wolves, basically that were older pair that was together, and they had a small litter of 4 pups. Our director Heather went and grabbed them up to take them to our center at about only 2 weeks of age, which is pretty amazing, and they've been here since then, and they've grown up really, really, really fast. Some of you might have been here when they were babies. They were in our clinic. You could get animal encounters with them when they were small. Once they got a little bit bigger, they were introduced into our main enclosure behind us, and they've been here ever since. They're celebrating their 4th birthday on April 26th.
Coming up, 4 years old. I want to say hi, Theo. Hi, Cecilia. Friends of ours are out there watching. Y'all please chime in and say hi to us, because we're going to miss you too, and so we want to hear you as much as possible.
Yeah, so we got a question of do they play
Brooke,
with each other?
Brooke asked us the question.
Brooke, that's a great question. They are really, 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 really playful. They are siblings, of course, so we get a little bit of sibling rivalry in there, a little bit of rough play sometimes, but they definitely are a social pack, and they are very, very, very playful in the way that they interact, especially when it comes to toys and food and enrichment, which is going on behind us. To tell you a little bit more about enrichment, we have some Subway to-go boxes that we got from a meeting. They don't have any Subway in them. We had some wolf-friendly treats in there. So it's full of newspaper that's been soaked in fish oil. It's a really good scent for them, and they rub on it and roll in it and chew it up. It's something that's really fun for their brain. It gets their olfactory senses really rolling, because that's kind of what drives them as a wolf.
Eric, Kimberly wants to know, she wanted to know their lifespan. Tell us about their lifespan.
Yeah, so in the wild, a wolf might live to be 8 to 10 years old. In captivity, you take away all the competition, take away the need for living that really harsh lifestyle. You get cared for a little bit better. You get veterinary care, especially here at Oatland from our amazing vet, Dr. Mailer. We have this really, really, really old pack before they came here that were in their teens when they passed away of natural causes. So really, really, really amazing to think about our wolves as being a lot older than maybe a wolf might be in the wild because of the care that they receive.
All right, we got some highs to say out there. Sam, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. And Jonathan Jackson, watching, former keeper of Oatland Island. You could probably see back there, Jonathan. Looks like your buddy is washing himself in the pond.
So Cornelia, I hope I'm saying that right, H4 asked, what are their favorite toys? So they love to play tug of war, so anything that they can pull on or chew on is really, really fun for them. They also have favorite sticks that they'll carry around. You'll actually see them grab sticks and take it over to other individuals to try to initiate play that way. They definitely love anything that has a good smell. So they've really loved when we do in the summertime these Jello molds that we fill with ice and different scents. They love hot dogs, little tiny treats like that they get every once in a while. Believe it or not, they love frozen chicks, little chick popsicles as well. So it's a little gross, but that's what they eat. They're carnivores, right?
I think Oconee there ran out of toilet paper.
Yeah. Yeah, Satilla's digging in the pond over there.
Oh, is that Satilla?
Yeah, I think that's Satilla. Satilla's got a little bit of an underbite, so you can always tell her she's got a little bit of the tip of her one ear missing, a little dock ear, so you can see her that way as well.
Pretty fun. You guys are asking great questions. Keep them rolling.
So there's a question from Foo. What food do they eat? So they eat a raw meat diet. At the end of the day, we pull them into their enclosure, safe at night in their own little kennels. They're giving a raw meat diet that's basically a lean meat. And they eat about 5 to 8 pounds depending on the season that they're in, and they'll do that in about 15 to 20 seconds. They really wolf down their food. That was a joke. No laugh.
It's a real thing. Wolfing it down.
Yeah.
So, good questions. Good questions. Kathy wants to know, what is the name of the first ever wolf at Oatland?
Ooh.
We're gonna pick our director's brain. She's here with us today. She might know a little bit further back.
So we know past wolves. We've had Crowley, Odin.
So we had a pack
Luna.
longevity. We had a pack genetic longevity for a while because we had males that we would breed, and unfortunately our last Teddy. Some of you might remember Teddy. Tundra was his real name. He was supposed to be the breeder with our newest wolf, Luna, and it didn't happen. So we don't know why, but so we ended up getting this whole new pack. Susanna.
Who is the alpha? So alpha is a really interesting term. The idea of an alpha wolf was started by a researcher that was thinking about and researching and studying captive wolves. So the term alpha comes from studying captive wolves. In the wild, we don't really have alphas like we would think of an alpha or the terminology alpha. It can't really be applied to wild wolves, but in captivity you can term it because it's a bunch of different individuals mixed together. As Oatland is concerned, we have 4 siblings, so it's not really a mixture of wolves, but they do kind of figure out their hierarchy, and right now we'd say that kind of Ogeechee is at the top of the pack. He's maybe the alpha in regard to who they look to as the one that's going to care for them. They kind of take their cues from him. That being said, Suwannee is a much larger wolf and a little bit beefier and a little bit stronger, and so when it comes to food, he's definitely alpha in food regards. So he's going to push everyone off food if he wants that food, if he wants that treat, or wants that stick, he gets it.
And Max asked the question, do we pet them when we go in to feed them? I do not.
Michelle does not, because Michelle has super bad allergies, so she can't be
and
close to our wolves.
And I don't have that contact with them.
So when we think about kind of our contact with the wolves, we always have to have one-to-one contact, so a human per wolf. We don't think of them as pets, so we don't pet them like a pet, but we do interact with them for things like veterinary care, or maybe to get a look at their wellness, how they're doing as far as their teeth, or maybe even their coat coming out. We might groom some of their coat out if they're having problems with getting rid of their coat.
All right, and there was another question that I missed. Was that from Michelle? Michelle asked a question. Michelle, we'll come back to your question because I lost it. Do you like to go back in their habitat? Katie wants to know, do you like to go? I love to go in their habitat because I love this maritime forest. But I don't go inside of the exhibit with them. Few people do. Eric, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so when we go in their habitat, they're typically not in it. They're in their holding cages in the back. They're in their little tiny areas that they feel safe, they feel comfortable in there. And then we go out and we clean their exhibit for them. That's a way for them to think of that place as the den area, a safe area. We go out, clean their exhibit up, and then release them into their exhibit. So we try not to ever have contact with the wolves unless it's completely necessary.
Yeah, and you have to remember, friends, that these are wolves and they have wild instincts. So even though they act like dogs and they look like dogs and their behaviors, there's a lot of similarities, they have that wild drive. So if there's a kill in there that we don't know about and we come in with them because we want to love on them and scruff them, they might think that as aggression, and then it might result in somebody getting hurt.
Yeah.
So we don't tend to do that. Another question.
Yeah, Crawford asked, how much do they fight, or what do they like when they fight? And so they do basically keep each other in check, and they do fight a little bit. When we think of fighting, it's not fighting like humans fight or like other animals fight for territory or dominance. They're basically fighting over who gets to do what in what order. So it's kind of their dominance hierarchy. Most of the time they get that really figured out, but in certain seasons or at certain times of the year, they might be a little more aggressive towards each other. And basically the wolves understand where their boundaries are, and they don't push those boundaries. I just got distracted by a bird, sorry.
Yeah. Lucy wanted to know about any training cues so that helps with veterinary care.
Yeah, so they do have some kind of built-in training cues. They do know or respect their kennel and know which kennel is theirs. They understand that food is an incentive for them, and so they're brought back using food as an incentive. They understand certain sounds. Because there's not really need for it, they don't do necessarily a lot of clicker training like you think of with a dog, but they are trained to understand that maybe a piece of food is something that we want them to go up or down for, or to the right or the left for, but they're not spot trained with like a clicker.
All right, and then on that note, Devin, our animal keeper, yesterday was telling me how Satilla gets medicine in the morning, and she knows her name, and they can get her to come up. They put the medicine inside of like a hot dog or beef heart, and all they have to do is just say her name, and she's cued in now to that, and she comes and gets her medicine. Cindy, hi Cindy Satlow. She wants to know, do they get their teeth brushed?
Oh. We try to give them as much enrichment as possible that keeps their teeth nice and clean, just like you think of a dog getting a certain bone or a certain toy to keep their teeth clean. We try to do that as well. If we notice teeth problems, we actually will have to go in and put them under anesthesia and get those teeth cleaned that way. That's the only really safe way to do it. There's not really a good method for when they're awake putting your hands in a wolf mouth.
Heidi wants to know, is there a habitat away from what guests see?
Oh, so this is their habitat, and this is what they use. Think about a wolf as having kind of a square footprint that they live in, and that's their home area, and then they go out from that home area to get food. Because they get their food right there, they don't really seek out any areas, and if they did or they wanted to, we would see digging and we'd see aggression towards the fence, and we don't see that. So they're basically tuned into this area as their home area, and they don't want to move outside of it. Now, wolf in the wild would really have a huge home range because they're searching long distances for large prey items, and even small prey items too.
All right, Maisie. Hello, Maisie. How are you? She wants to know about their howling. Is that what it said?
Yeah, when and why they howl.
When and why they howl.
Yeah, so howling's really interesting behavior. It's a communication, like just like we talk to each other. Howling can be because we're excited. Howling can be because they have an outside stimulus. So if you ever hear the warning signals from SEMA, they really like that. If we have a fire truck or fire engine that comes nearby, they actually howl at those as well. Any high-pitched sound that carries a long distance, they're going to recognize that as a sound that they maybe want to reply to, make sure it's not someone that's going to infringe on their territory. They definitely howl for animal keepers as well, and even past animal keepers that have moved on to other jobs. When they come back and visit, they definitely recognize them and howl for them as well.
Hi, Ansley Brown. She wants to know how long they live. Oh, I talked a little bit about that. We'll give you that again, and where they sleep.
Yeah, so they sleep in the back in their little holding areas. Each one has a kennel that they have to go into, and then they have a mixed area where they can go and socialize, lay down, make a big cuddle puddle. They are very social, like we said before. About 10 years, 8 to 10 years in the wild is an old wolf. They can get up into their teens in captivity. here at Oatland, we expect our wolves to live into their teens for sure.
Charlie's saying hi to us.
Hi,
Hi,
Charlie.
We miss you too. Be safe and go outside and play. So just like our wolves. Outside.
Get some fresh air,
Yeah. You guys are asking excellent questions, and we really appreciate you joining
come on.
us and help us
Come on.
work out the kinks for our first episode of Live Ventures with FOOVentures. Kathy, where do they go for bad weather?
Oh, yeah. So that holding area that we talked about before is kind of their safe area for bad weather. In the inclement weather we have in the past, they get pulled back in there and they feel safe there and they calm down there. In this big exhibit with all the trees, that would be a little scary. So they have a smaller area that's more fortified for them to be in. In the past, we think of them as being kind of a little more easy to handle when they were younger. So they did do, during their first year of lives, a trip all the way up to Warner Robins, Georgia, to go to their hurricane evacuation during the first year of their life. So they've been all over the place with us to go to safer places than Oatland might be in case of a hurricane strike or even inclement weather. High winds too, right?
Yeah. But also, like, we have to determine what bad weather means. Like, if it's like 95 with a 99% heat index, the wolves are going to go underground.
Yeah.
They have a den past that last log. We're right underneath that last log. And so if you ever come to the exhibit and you don't see wolves and it's a hot day, it's because they have their own definition of bad weather and they're hiding underground. And they did that on their own.
Homeostasis.
And then we had a question from Jessica. She wants to know, why is the girl never a leader?
Oh, the girl is a leader. So it's the total misnomer, the idea of alpha as being a leader. Alpha is a term, like we said, for captive wolves. In the wild, we think of a breeding male and a breeding female. So they're basically a power couple, right? That's a better way to think of it. Those two individuals will be raising their young, and that's the pack. And as the young get older and kind of age out of the pack, they'll leave and start other packs. So a normal pack is going to be a breeding male and breeding female, and then their offsprings. Maybe an aunt and uncle in there if they brought one over from another pack. Depends on kind of the dynamics, how that works.
So the female is actually like the mom, and she's the leader. I'm a mom, and I'm a leader. And there's a dad, and that's a leader. So you have a leader mom, and you have a leader dad. So there's always a leader.
Yeah.
Kenneth, are they spayed and neutered?
Yeah, so Satilla is spayed. That means that she's the one that's been fixed. That decision was made as basically an idea or a way of thinking of it as doing the most amount of work to the least amount of wolves. Maybe or the least amount of work to the least amount of wolves is a better way to say that. So we wouldn't want to do 3 surgeries when we could do 1 surgery and not have to worry about it.
Kimberly, do they grow winter coats? Absolutely.
Yeah, they get their winter coats throughout the winter, and they have them now, and they'll start blowing out their coats very, very soon, and we'll start seeing clumps of fur literally come off of them. That downy undercoat really keeps them warm in the winter, and they'll start losing that soon as it gets to be up in the 80s and 90s.
And Paige just asked, do they ever get sick?
Yeah, so just like humans get sick, they'll get sick, and we kind of monitor them and kind of can basically see that through maybe if they're not eating as much, maybe if we notice things like a limp or something like that. We have a great veterinary staff here. Dr. Mailer heads that up, and she does a really, really, really amazing job of getting them meds if they need to, getting them surgeries if needed be even. These wolves haven't done any surgeries, but she's definitely done surgery for other animals that we have in our collection.
Okay, so that actually, there's a couple things that came in my mind. So first thing, friends, is on Friday, if you have cable television, on the Smithsonian television station at 9 a.m., our wolves are celebrities, and they will be featured in a story called Amazing Dogs. It's at 9 a.m. They filmed our wolves on that series, and it is airing on March 20th. Can you believe that? Such perfect timing for this live streaming. So tune in if you can, 9 a.m. Amazing Dogs, Smithsonian Television. And then I've been doing some research on what books you could read while you're stuck
happy
at
3rd
home.
birthday, Charlotte.
Charlotte, happy birthday. All right, we'll come to your question about what they're afraid of in just a second, Charlotte, okay? So books to read. If you're a little person at home and you want to learn about germ transmission in a fun wolf way, there's a really fun book called Blow Your Nose, Big Bad Wolf by Steve Smallman. We read that in our Toddler Tuesday class. It was a hit. And Mr. E actually did a program with wolves, and he brought down enrichment that looked like a Kleenex box.
Yeah.
And the wolves all pulled out tissue and ran away with it. It's pretty cute.
Check it out on Instagram.
So read
at
that.
Oatland Island.
Yeah, read that. and also get all these books can be found online, so you don't have to go to the bookstore. Or some bookstores are doing drive-by pickups and deliveries. A good book for if you're 4th grade up through about 8th grade. One of my favorites was Julie of the Wolves by Jean Craighead George. And this story is about a girl who is an Alaskan Inuit, and she has an arranged marriage, and she is not going to have that. So she runs off into the Arctic, and she finds a wolf pack, and she's about to die because she needs to survive. It's cold, and she's hungry, and she gets adopted by the wolf pack.
Spoiler
They take
much.
her in. But there's way more. There's way more to it. Never Cry Wolf, one of my favorites. It is a nonfiction story written by Farley Mowat. I have it kind of up here. Never Cry Wolf, and he debunks the myth that wolves are wreak havoc in ecological systems and destroy populations of elk and caribou. And he went out and lived with the wolves deliberately, and will teach you so much in a fun, lighthearted way about wolf and wolf behavior. And if you're really into nonfiction book, Mr. E was talking a little bit about alpha males and alpha females, and this man is always trying to recant his terminology of the alpha. You have to read the book why. And it's by L. David Meach, and it's called The Wolf, Ecology and Behavior of an Endangered Species. And it's M-E-C-H, not M-E-A-C-H. That's my typo. So you can get all these books online. We'll put a link on there for these books on the page. So we had a question before that. Charlotte's question was, she wanted to have
what are they afraid of?
Oh, what are they afraid of?
Loud noises. Humans. They're not really afraid of humans, but if you do things like make yourself big and make fast movements and sound, I think the most important thing, if you want them to come up and see you, they're curious. And so if you want to be really quiet, everyone comes up here and tries to howl at them. That's like screaming at the wolves. They don't respond to that. You walk up here and are quiet, they're like, oh, those people aren't doing the normal things that normal people do, and they might come up and see you then. So they're not really afraid of much other than really those loud noises and maybe some thunder and lightning. They don't like that too much either.
All right, Kathy wants to know, are there different breeds of wolves? First of all, I just want to say that we had wolves in Georgia in the 1800s. We did not have the gray wolf, which are the wolves you see in front of you. We had a wolf called the red wolf, which is a different species of wolf. And there are different species of wolf all around the world. Breeds, I wouldn't call them breeds, I call them different species. Nick wants to know, do they climb trees?
These guys don't climb trees much. I'm sure they would if they could. Our local gray fox, our native gray fox, does climb trees. It's a big time tree climber. But these guys aren't seeking out trees to climb, no.
All right, Emily wants to know, Eric can ask you, which wolf is your favorite and why?
I can't say. No, I don't know. I really like all of them. I guess probably if I had to say, I like Satilla. She's a little derpy, a little weird. She looks kind of funky, and she's very sweet. And she's always the one that kind of loves humans the most. So I guess I want that love back from her. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't have a favorite. I think they all have attributes that are really compelling. So Satilla she's sweet. Oconee is inquisitive and curious.
Yeah.
Swanee is the white one. He's beautiful to look at. And Ogeechee, he just comes in sometimes as the sentinel and he is just strong and brave. So they all have wonderful attributes that we love. And I'm sure you have your favorites too.
Yeah.
So you guys can text us in, say who your favorite is.
Yeah, there was a past question about our first wolf's name. Sad we didn't know that off the top of our heads, but we've reached out to our past director, our first past director, Tony Cope over in Ireland, and he's going to get back to us, and we'll post that on this feed as well. So be looking back for that. We'll try to reply directly to your comment so you can see what that wolf's name was, because that was way, way long ago. We're almost 50 years old here in 2023. Yeah, so that was a long time ago when we got our first wolf.
All right.
Cool. We want to make sure that you guys all know to vote basically by commenting which animal we should go visit next. So tomorrow we're hoping to do another video, and we've got lots of animals to choose from to visit, and we just don't know which one to choose. So we'd like you to do a comment telling us where to go, who to visit, who to talk about next.
We're going to take one more question, and we hope you go out and get those books that we talked about. Jimmy, in the wild, do they hang out with fox, coyote, or other canids?
The short answer is no. The long answer has a lot to do with dynamics and competition. So in Yellowstone National Park, there's this really great documentary about them reintroducing wolves back into Yellowstone. In Yellowstone, the dynamics of their canid relationships completely changed when they put in all the wolves. So what happened is we see a lot of coyotes, we see a lot of foxes in Yellowstone leading up to that, and then their numbers immediately start to drop. And that's because they're pushing out those smaller canids, smaller canines, away from those areas where they grab food and things like that. So they're very much in competition with them. They sometimes even eat other small dogs too. So you wouldn't want to be around a fox or a wolf if you're a fox or a coyote. They're definitely going to compete.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our first live streaming edition of FOOVentures. I just want to say, stick with us. We're ironing out the kinks, and I want to thank Missy and Maddie and Dawn and Doug, all that gave us this idea and are helping us make it come to fruition. We have the best Foo membership ever. Thank you for being a member.